Super Rugby round 4, the Friday games, pretty close. Two pretty close games, so Australian and New Zealand derby matches. Nothing much separating these teams, so the away teams both walk away with bonus points, but they'll both be kind of kicking themselves that they weren't able to get a victory. I'll start with the first one. The Hurricanes against the Highlanders. First game of the year in Wellington. And I'm not sure what the crowd was. I'm always curious. I know a lot of you guys tell me what the attendances were in the comments. The side of the stadium that the camera was generally facing seemed to be pretty poor in terms of attendance, but the other side looked pretty packed. So I'm not quite sure what the attendance levels were like. I know when I went to the Blues opener against the Crusaders, parts of the ground were absolutely full, and then there were swathes of seats around me which were just completely empty. Which was bizarre because when I bought the tickets online, it said that they were all taken. So I can only assume they were like corporates that just didn't bother to show up. You know, where the company just gets allocated tickets and they just give them out to their staff or whatever. But yeah, I'm not sure what the attendance was for this game. At moments it looked good, at moments it looked really bad. So I guess for the opener you would like it to be a bit full, but the weather did seem to be a bit stink as well. But yeah, 25 points to 22. It was only a last minute penalty from Beauden Barrett that took this one away from the Highlanders. It was 2 tries to Laumape and 1 to Lamb for the Hurricanes. Laumape is just in kind of unstoppable form at the minute. For the Highlanders, it was Aaron Smith, Tompkinson, and Coltman. And there was no side that really got totally on top in this game. I think the lead changed at least 4, maybe 5 times. Yeah, it was just totally back and forward. Neither side was able to put the other one away until, yeah, the Canes were able to sneak it at the death. The Canes, I suppose, coming off that game against the Brumbies, perhaps we thought they would look a little bit more cohesive, but it still looks like they're a work in progress under John Plumtree. For the Highlanders, I know a lot of fans were kind of cursing the removal of Aaron Smith late in the game. It's always hard because I like the idea that you can play your subs. If you're not playing your subs, it feels like there's something kind of wrong. But sometimes it is better to keep the experienced hands on. I don't know. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you bring on a sub and he works some magic and wins you the game, then you're a genius. If you take off a key guy and then you end up losing, you're an idiot. So I suppose it's good for Hamilton to get some experience, if nothing else, even if they only walk away with the bonus point. At halftime in this one, the Canes had more ball, more territory, more run meters. But interestingly, by the end of the game, the Canes still had the run meters, but the Highlanders edged it in terms of position and territory, kind of like 55-45. So in that second half, they'd more than made up for that lack in the first half. So they were kind of in the 60% territory in possession for that second half. So able to kind of put the Canes under the pump a wee bit, but not able to get it done. So yeah, it was interesting. I mean, there were kind of key moments, like Lamb at one point really showed some power, but then dropped the ball as he was getting near the goal line. Tavita Lee dropped a pretty decent intercept chance cold, and I think he would have gone length of the field if he'd got it. So both sides, I guess, in the conditions, left a fair few points out there. There were a fair few penalties, like it was a pretty highly penalised game. I think it was 9 to the Canes, 12 to the Highlanders. A lot of free kicks and turnovers, all that kind of stuff. One point though, there was a Fidel kind of hit Thomas Umaga Jensen like around the shoulder, and he went flat, and they had to get the medics on and stop the game because it looked pretty serious. But I was kind of pleased that the ref didn't look at the result and think that's a yellow card, because it seemed a fairly innocuous, slightly high hit that rode up. And that's how he saw it. So he didn't just say, this guy's injured, I'm going to give you a yellow card. I guess that was pleasing, because too often we give the refs a grief for ruining the game. So that one, I don't think he ruined it, although the penalty count was high in this game, which made it, I mean, partly that was due to the conditions, but it always makes it a little less of a spectacle. But then again, if you let the players run riot and they just spoil each other's game, it also becomes not a spectacle. So you damned if you do, damned if you don't, refs. Yeah, Xavier got a few turnovers which were crucial towards the end, but then again, he got turned over himself for Aaron Smith's try. So nobody was perfect in this one. It was an entertaining game because, like I said, it was so back and forth. But it's an important win for the Hurricanes. You've got to hold at home. For the Highlanders, their record kind of now evens out a wee bit. That's a couple of losses on the trot. The Highlanders now host the Crusaders down in Dunedin, so that'll be a very tough game. And the Hurricanes are away to the Chiefs. So that may be a good chance for them to seize on the Chiefs' kind of lack of form. Or the Chiefs may go and beat the Crusaders today. Maybe. And come back into it. I guess we will see. The next one, the Rebels over the Brumbies. The cliche game of two halves. That's this game. I'm pretty sure the lead only changed once. It was pretty much all Brumbies in the first half. Because apart from a Rebels penalty, they did all the scoring. So Spate on the 18th minute, Fainga on the 33rd, and then a penalty try right on half-time. And that was a big call from the Brumbies because the Rebels had a man in the bin at one point, and they managed to score a try from Fainga. That was 5-0 during that yellow card. And then they didn't kick for the poles towards the end of that first half. They went for it, and they managed to get a penalty try. So that initial yellow card period, they managed to pull off 12 points and get a second Rebels man put in the bin. So the Brumbies were absolutely going for the jugular in that first half. Yeah, I mean, the Rebels did give away a lot of penalties early on. I even wrote a note that I think they'd conceded like 4 penalties in a row on their own line, and they didn't even get warned until that point. The yellow card came much later, kind of without much warning. It was a bit of a bizarre one. This was another game that was really heavily penalised. The penalty count ended up being 12 apiece. And it seemed to be going more the Brumbies' way in the first half in terms of they were the ones winning the penalties, and then they were on the wrong end of penalties in that second half. So, again, game of two halves. The Rebels, whatever they said at half-time, it must have worked a treat because despite having 2 men in the bin, they came out and pretty much scored straight after the start of the second half. Korobidi in the 41st minute. It was from a little Quade Cooper pass, which was nice. He had a good game. So, I mean, in terms of that yellow card period, they actually evened it up. They missed the conversion, but they scored 5 points when they had 2 men in the bin, which was pretty special. Max got a try on the 52nd. De Guinea got one on the 65th. That was a little bit of heads-up play when they had advantage from a scrum penalty. He just went around the corner and touched the ball down. So he's kind of a key man. And unlike Aaron Smith, who got subbed, the Rebels left him on for the whole 80. Because, yeah, he was just kind of having that much influence over the game. Valtini did get a try to kind of push back as the Rebels were coming back into it, but it wasn't that long. That was before Guinea's try. It wasn't that long before Guinea got his one, and then Maddox got his second. So the Rebels went in front. And, yeah, that's the way it kind of finished. 29 points to 26. So from being 19-3 down with 2 men in the bin, the Rebels come back to take it. It is quite the comeback from the dead. So impressive stuff from the Rebels. They showed a bit of mental fortitude. I'm still not sold on the Rebels being the real deal because the Brumbies did, I mean, under pressure, but they collapsed in that second half. Again, partly it was the ref seemed to be blowing one way in one half and one way in the other. Like I wrote another note because the Brumbies seemed to be getting all the way in the first half, but then in the second half, the Brumbies had the ball. They were getting quick ball. They were going ruck, 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 and then the ref just was like blocking Joe Powell's passing line, and you could hear him fire out an expletive. And one of the commentators said something smart, as he should have thrown the ball into the ref to get the kind of play stopped and then go with a scrum. But he tried to work around the ref, and by the time he did that, they'd lost all momentum and they ended up losing the ball. So, yeah, the ref was running a blocking line for the Rebels. And there was another try attempt for the Brumbies, but they didn't bother to TMO it, which was, I suppose, interesting. Like, they TMO most stuff, but he was confident. I don't know, they didn't show the replay that clearly for me to get a feel for whether he got close or whether he knocked it on, but either way, the Brumbies in the second half will be very disappointed. Like I said, 19-3 up, you got to be winning, but credit to the Rebels for coming back. So, Yeah, it was a wee bit messy with all the penalties, the yellow cards, the scrums were taking an age at times, but we still saw some pretty good skills. As I said, Cooper and Guinea were putting on a bit of a show. It was good to see Spate back in good form. I mentioned before Valtini needed to kind of step it up for all this promise that he's got, and he showed us something a wee bit extra for this one, so that was good. Rory Arnold I thought was pretty immense for parts of the game, so yeah. Still not convinced by the Rebels, but man, take the win. They're still undefeated. They are 3-0. Only one other team has done that, and that's the Crusaders, so that's a pretty good example if you're going to follow that. We'll see how they go next week. They travel to South Africa to play the Lions. That's the Rebels. That'll be tough at altitude, and the Brumbies are at home to the Waratahs, so given that the Brumbies have only won the one game thus far, that starts to become a very, very important, almost kind of getting into must-win territory for the Brumbies. But yeah, those were the games. As I said, both of them pretty close. Both teams got bonus points in the losing. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on the games, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.